Born on May 20th, 1743, little is known about the early life of François Toussaint. It is believed that his father was Gaou Guinou, the younger son of the king of Allada, a kingdom in West Africa. However, Toussaint's family was tragically sold into slavery and transported to the Caribbean. Despite the hardships of enslavement, Toussaint was fortunate to have enlightened masters who permitted him to acquire literacy skills. He immersed himself in reading the classics and the works of Enlightenment political philosophers, profoundly shaping his beliefs and ideals. Additionally, Toussaint developed a profound devotion to the teachings of Catholicism during this period. Toussaint, endowed with intelligence and a diligent work ethic, honed his expertise in medicinal plants and horsemanship. His remarkable abilities garnered recognition from his masters, propelling him swiftly to the position of chief steward on the plantation. Legend has it that Toussaint was granted his freedom in 1776, coinciding with the United States' Declaration of Independence from Great Britain. Despite gaining his freedom, Toussaint opted to remain in service to his former owner. In 1782, he wed Suzanne Simone Baptiste, and together they raised 3 children, Placide, Isaac, and Saint John. On August 22, 1791, a seismic event unfolded in the French colony of Saint-Domingue, located on the western half of Hispaniola. Triggered by the spirit of the French Revolution and fueled by centuries of oppression, enslaved individuals initiated a revolt, indiscriminately targeting their oppressors. Initially, François Toussaint found himself undecided. Approaching the age of 50, he was married with a family, tending to a small plot of land and overseeing a plantation for his former master. However, as the rebellion gained momentum and encroached upon Toussaint's vicinity, his stance shifted. His decision to join the uprising was not solely motivated by the defense of his own lifestyle. Toussaint's convictions were deeply rooted in his Catholic faith, which opposed slavery as well as the principles espoused by Enlightenment philosophers such as John Locke and Jean-Jacques Rousseau, who championed the inherent quality of all humankind. Toussaint's first priority was ensuring the safety of his wife and family, whom he relocated to the Spanish-controlled eastern half of the island to shield them from the turmoil of the rebellion. Subsequently, he arranged for his former master's family to depart for the United States aboard a ship. Joining forces with Georges Biassou's rebels, who had formed an alliance with the Spanish against France, Toussaint embarked on a new chapter of resistance. Drawing upon his knowledge of African and Creole herbal medicinal practices acquired during his enslavement, Toussaint assumed the roles of both healer and soldier, providing medical aid to the troops while actively engaging in combat. His capabilities did not go unnoticed, and he swiftly rose to command a contingent of 600 black former slaves. Under his leadership, this force grew into a formidable army of 4,000 well-organized soldiers. Among his ranks, Jean-Jacques Dessalines, a fellow escaped slave, emerged as a trusted confidant and proficient lieutenant. It was during this transformative period that Toussaint adopted the surname Louverture, derived from the French term meaning opening or paving the way. Amidst the tumult of a rebellion engulfing the Caribbean islands, European powers engaged in strategic maneuvers to secure their interests. The British government, apprehensive of the slave uprising spilling over into their neighborhood colony of Jamaica, seized the opportunity to disrupt French dominance in the region. Dispatching troops to quell the revolt, they aimed to weaken their French rivals. Sensing the imminent threat of defeat, the French National Convention took decisive action to maintain their colonial authority, and garner the allegiance of the black populace. In a significant move, France extended freedom and citizenship to all blacks within the empire in 1794. However, despite this concession, British forces remained resolute in their mission to destabilize France's fragile grip on Saint-Domingue. After France's groundbreaking decision to emancipate the slaves, Toussaint shifted his allegiance and allied himself with the French forces against Spain. His initial objective was to launch an assault on the Spanish-held territory of Santo Domingo on the eastern side of the island. This marked a pivotal moment as Toussaint found himself in conflict with his former black comrades, who remained loyal to Spain. Demonstrating exceptional leadership, Toussaint's troops successfully seized control of Santo Domingo. The signing of the Treaty of Basel in July of 1795 marked the cessation of hostilities between France and Spain, leading to the withdrawal of Spanish forces from Hispaniola. Toussaint adeptly contained the remaining British troops, neutralizing their impact and prompting their eventual retreat from the island. By 1796, Toussaint had ascended to become the paramount political and military figure in the colonies. Revered by the freed slaves whose liberation he championed, he also commanded respect from the numerous French authorities who retained technical control over Saint-Domingue. With a temporary cessation of hostilities that the European powers achieved, Toussaint redirected his focus towards addressing the simmering domestic unrest plaguing the island. Prior to 1791, the mulatto population, who were not enslaved, had themselves owned slaves and sought to reclaim their former property. In 1799, Toussaint, aided by Dessalines, successfully quelled the mulatto army after a year-long struggle, marred by allegations of atrocities committed by Dessalines' forces. Toussaint had assumed the role of de facto ruler over the entirety of Hispaniola. Implementing a new constitution, he reiterated the abolition of slavery and proclaimed himself Governor General for life, wielding near absolute authority. With the aim of restoring stability to Hispaniola, Toussaint embarked on initiatives to revive agriculture and enhance economic prosperity. He forged trade agreements with both the British and Americans, securing arms and goods for his forces in exchange for sugar and assurances of non-aggression towards Jamaica and the southern United States. In defiance of French revolutionary laws, Toussaint permitted the return of plantation owners who had fled during the rebellion. While enforcing military discipline among the workforce, he simultaneously instituted reforms aimed at improving the conditions of laborers. In 1799, Napoleon Bonaparte seized control of France amid the tumult of the French revolutionary government. He implemented a new constitution, stipulating special laws for all French colonies. Toussaint and his compatriots harbored suspicions that this might herald the reinstatement of slavery. To assuage these concerns, Toussaint refrained from asserting full independence and instead proclaimed his allegiance to France, hoping to persuade Napoleon of his loyalty. Napoleon, in turn, reaffirmed Toussaint's position as colonial governor and pledged not to reintroduce slavery. Additionally, Napoleon prohibited Toussaint from launching an invasion of Santo Domingo, the eastern portion of the island, where French authorities were striving to restore order following the departure of the Spanish. The allure of exerting total authority over the entire island proved irresistible to Toussaint. In January of 1801, his armies launched an invasion of Santo Domingo, swiftly seizing control with minimal resistance. Toussaint implemented French law, abolished slavery, and embarked on a mission to modernize the nation. Incensed by Toussaint's audacity, Napoleon dispatched his brother-in-law, General Charles Emmanuel Leclerc, accompanied by 20,000 seasoned French troops to restore control. Selected for their expertise gained from campaigns in Europe, these troops constituted a formidable adversary against Toussaint's forces. Despite Toussaint's valiant efforts, his coalition eventually crumbled after several months of staunch resistance. The majority of Europeans and mulattoes residing on the island aligned themselves with the French cause. Over time, even Toussaint's most trusted generals, Henri Christophe and Dessalines, defected to Leclerc's side. By June 1802, the tide had turned decisively against him. Exploiting the guise of peace negotiations, French General Jean-Baptiste Brunet lured Toussaint to his quarters under false pretenses. There, Toussaint was apprehended and subsequently transported to Fort de Joux in the Jura Mountains of France. Subjected to rigorous interrogation, he succumbed to pneumonia and starvation on April 7, 1803. Shortly thereafter, Jean-Jacques Dessalines once more changed allegiance and assumed command of rebel forces in opposition to the French. Through a string of triumphs, Dessalines' coalition of blacks and mulattoes effectively compelled the French to capitulate and evacuate the island. In 1804, Dessalines boldly declared independence and proclaimed himself emperor. Thus, Hispaniola emerged as the world's inaugural black independent republic. Although he did not witness its fruition, Toussaint's initiatives initiated a chain of global repercussions that reshaped the landscape of the Western Hemisphere and marked the onset of the decline of European colonial dominance in the Americas. Faced with the challenges of an uncontrollable rebellion in Hispaniola, Napoleon Bonaparte opted against expanding his empire into North America, ultimately selling the Louisiana Territory to the United States in 1803. This pivotal transaction paved the way for extensive Western expansion throughout the 19th century. Moreover, Toussaint's actions served as a catalyst for revolutions in numerous Latin American nations over the ensuing century and galvanized American abolitionists to intensify their efforts in the fight against slavery.